Well, today on the show, we're at the office of Dr. Sonia Spencer and Dr. Stephen Stone at Spencer Chiropractic over on Pass Road in Gulfport, across from Pass Road Elementary. Dr. Stone, it's good to see you. Happy New Year to you.
And Happy New Year to you.
There are so many different things that people deal with on an everyday basis when it comes to their body that has to do with the skeletal system, nerves, and everything. One of the biggest ones is plantar fasciitis, and you work with that. Tell us exactly what that is.
So plantar fasciitis, it's a very debilitating foot condition. It strikes a lot of people, especially people that spend a lot of time on their feet, because essentially what it is, it's almost like, it feels like an ice pick is being shoved into the bottom of a foot. Mm-hmm. So Jim, let me ask you, have you ever cooked ribs?
Cooked ribs?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you turn the rack of ribs over and you kind of pull the little tissue off.
Yeah.
It's almost like a translucent tissue.
Yeah, yeah.
That's called fascia. So fascia is a connective tissue in the body.
Okay.
And it covers all the bones, covers all the muscles, covers all the organs as well.
So it's kind of a protective type thing.
Absolutely. So essentially what fascia does, it almost creates a lubricating surface. We've got so many things in such a small amount of space that things need to be able to glide over other things
Parts,
in the body pretty easily. So take, for example, we have the heart here, we have the lung right here as well. Mm-hmm. If that heart, which is beating about once every second, and then the lung, which is expanding and deflating once every few seconds, if those didn't have a lubricating surface, well, it wouldn't take long before one wears a hole in the other. So
wow.
Essentially what happens with plantar fasciitis, that fascia is on the bottom of the foot, and when we spend a lot of time on it, essentially what happens is that fascia becomes, it almost wants to stretch a little bit. Unfortunately, unlike the muscles, it doesn't stretch. So instead what happens is little adhesions are created. It's almost like little sticking points in the bottom of the foot.
Is that where bone spurs come from?
Not necessarily,
okay.
But bone spurs do have a lot to do with that as well.
Okay.
So when we do put a lot of pressure on the foot, and then after a few hours of not doing anything, we go to stand up, namely in the mornings after we've been sleeping, you're going to experience that sharp ice pick at the bottom of the foot. Yeah. So it's really unpleasant.
I've had people, myself included, from time to time, have had that. When you get, I've been on my feet a lot the day before, like, I shoot weddings. So I've been on my feet for several hours doing that.
Right.
Go to bed that night, get up the next morning, and the bottom of my feet are like screaming.
Oh, it's miserable. And granted, it only lasts for a little bit. People tend to walk around for a few minutes or so.
Think I'll get the circulation going, it'll be fine.
Exactly. Stretch those muscles out a little bit, and it does kind of let off. But obviously everybody wants to start off the day on the right foot, so to speak. So as long as we can kind of, break up those adhesions, things will be better off, and they won't start the day pretty miserably.
So what can you do about that? Somebody comes to you and says, I have this ongoing continuous pain in my feet. What can you do to help?
So that's a great question. A lot of people will run to Walmart, grab a set of Dr. Scholl's. But they find that it doesn't really do a whole lot for them. So what we do is it's a soft tissue technique or a muscle technique. We work through the bottom of the foot, we start breaking up those adhesions that we were talking about, and over time, well, it's easier and easier to take those first steps in the morning.
No wonder my wife loves foot massages all the time.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
So that's a big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. In addition to that, a lot of times we are able to use a K-laser, which I know we've talked about here before.
Yes.
And that produces remarkable results as well. In addition to those two, we also have a plantar fasciitis protocol that we use with the exercise therapists here. And I mean, all in all, between those three therapies, they see fantastic results.
Is it something that can be totally cured, or just can just help you with what you're dealing with?
Generally something like that. It's not uncommon for it to come back in the long run. However, if we can give people a few years of relief there, well, I mean, they're all the happier because of it.
Well, that's the main thing, is just getting some good relief over a period of time, and I guess give them some tips or help them to where they can help themselves,
Absolutely.
so to speak.
Yeah, totally. So, but all in all, I mean, like I said, it is debilitating, and people that are spending a lot of time on their feet, well, they think that this is something that can be cured by medicine, and that's not necessarily the case, because it is a musculoskeletal issue. It is something that needs to be treated, well, from the outside in rather than from the inside out.
Because in a lot of situations with, as you mentioned, medications, you're just masking the problem.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like, okay, I'll take some ibuprofen and I'll be fine. No, you won't.
Yeah, so nobody has ever developed plantar fasciitis because of a lack of ibuprofen in their system.
Drugs don't always help. I mean,
Yeah.
as you said, you've got to go in and make some adjustments yourself,
Right.
and treat that. But that's something I never heard of. Is that membrane
Right.
thing that you're talking about? I'll look at ribs a whole different way whenever next time I barbecue ribs.
Yeah,
It's
you
like,
and I both.
this one's held you together. I'm sorry, it's coming off of you, now. Is there anything that they can do that can, are there foot exercises or stretches or things that they can do to help?
So totally, there's a lot of exercises that you can do, and that's really going to stretch those muscles out. Unfortunately, like we talked about, that fascia is not necessarily going to move with those muscles.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you want to do is break up those adhesions. One thing I recommend to people is taking one of those super balls, those little bouncy toys that you get for about 25 cents in a vending machine.
The gumball machine, yeah.
Right. You just put them on the floor, kind of roll your foot over it, and I'll be honest, it's really not that comfortable. However, it is one of those necessary evils that you need to do to break up those adhesions and get that fascia gliding on that muscle again.
You could probably do that as right now, sitting in a chair.
You're not kidding. Watching the LSU game tomorrow. But yeah, anytime that you're just sitting there alone, that's one of the things that you could do to take the first steps forward in that.
Okay. Just like, the times they tell you for hip problems, you can roll that tennis ball underneath that hip.
Right. Absolutely.
And there's little things that you can do for, pretty much every part of it. Is there, can this hit any age?
Yeah. Any age
I'm sure it's more prevalent in older people.
Absolutely. Obviously, older people have a lot more mileage on them, and because of that, because they've spent a lot more time on their feet there, they might be more prone to experiencing that as well.
Okay. Well, I guess if somebody wants to if you want to make an appointment, and if you're having some issues with that, like you said, if you're getting out of bed in the morning and you got to where your feet hurt, and it stays hurting for a while, it's just not just a short period type of thing, you probably need to,
Absolutely.
come in here and, call, set up an appointment, and, get some relief off of that, because you'll feel a lot better in the long run.
Right. No need to wait.
That's right. All right. Dr. Stone, good. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Great knowledge there. You can find out more about that. Again, if you'd like to make an appointment, get some help if you're suffering from plantar fasciitis, give them a call. They're located on Pass Road in Gulfport, across from Pass Road Elementary. It's Spencer Chiropractic in Gulfport.